Hey, what's up, y'all? Bro, I know it's been a minute. It's been a minute, bro. Your boy's been really busy, bro. I am not gonna lie, bro. Your boy's been hella busy. Sorry about my messy ass shirt. I've been working, and shit like that. You know what I mean? And stuff like that. Working at a carnival right now and shit. Trying to make that bread. You know what I mean? But but yeah, and shit like that. But yeah, shit. Eventually, guys, I'm gonna have to get my charger. But anyways, bro, Terence Bud Crawford, bro, defeats Saul Canelo Alvarez. And what a fight, man. Like, I'm just saying, what a fight, man. Because either way, Canelo still did his thing. You know what I mean? Like, you can't deny what Canelo did. He still was throwing his hands. He still was showing, like, that, he still carries that power. You know what I mean? And he showed that, yes, he has more natural, power in that weight class. But Terence Crawford's skill set, man, is what tells the story, man. And stuff like that. Crawford still got that power. Crawford still got that skill set. Even though he might not got that 168 pound power like that. But once he gets more used to that 168 pounds, then yes, and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And I'm just saying, bro, I just cannot believe Terence Crawford, like overall, this is, like, I didn't have a prediction for this fight, and I apologize to people, man. I apologize for not having a prediction for this fight. I was really gonna want to have a prediction, but things have been so busy right now in life and shit, bro. And shit like that. I'm trying to get everything together and shit like that, for my life and shit, But, here I am right now, But I'm just going to say right now, like, heading into the fight, and I'm just being completely honest with you guys, you know what I mean? Like, heading into the fight, I had Crawford winning that fight, like 8 rounds to 4, 7 rounds to 5. And all I seen, and I tried to re-see what I think like different times, dude. And all I seen was Terence Crawford winning this fight. You know what I mean? Like, that's all I seen was Terence Crawford winning this fight. And look what happened, man. It's just like, no matter what, both these fighters are warriors, but he outboxed the shit out of Canelo, dude. Like, literally did everything better than Canelo. Well, I would say the only thing that Canelo did better is that, was just his natural power. I feel like it's just more of like when Canelo hit, and stuff like that, it's like it was more effective, but it's just Terence was hitting him overall more with power shots and more with effective shots. You know what I mean? And that's the thing and shit like that, And yeah, man, and this was a fight between two greats, man. And it just, like, the thing is that sucks is that, either way, at least I was able to watch the fight. You know what I mean? At least I was able to watch the fight. But shit, bro, like, literally, bro, like, I'm just saying, bro, like, I was lucky I was able to get off work, and shit like that to get to this and shit. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing and shit, like. And, like, that's the thing and shit, So it's like, I had to get off work early to, like, and shit like that. Make some type of excuse and shit like that. So I could be able to watch this fucking fight, bro. Because literally, cause look, bro, like, I am a sports analyst, bro. Like, I am just saying, like, I don't work on literally, I know right now I work for elephant ears right now and shit, but it's just more of like, my life, is to be a sports analyst for y'all, and many of other things, mechanic, writer, I'm just gonna be making a whole lot of money, bruh, and shit like that, you know what I mean, and that's the thing and shit, so that's the thing and shit, so, but I'm just saying, bro, and the thing is, though, I almost got caught, and shit like that with having to go back to work and shit. Because the reason why is because I was trying to be a gentleman, I was trying to, throw away my garbage and shit like that. Because, and shit like that, in my brain, I was like, oh shit, I have garbage there. And it's just more of like, I just didn't want to stress over it. So I just wanted to go over there and throw it away. But I wasn't really thinking too much cautious of, of what I said for my plan or whatever, and shit like that, you know what I mean? And basically, like, that's the thing and shit, so it's like, and basically, like, Marsha, which is, like, I probably should not say it, but, but I'm just gonna say that my lead manager and shit, she was saying, like, oh, like, like, you better not be messing around and hanging around and not helping us and shit. And I was like, oh, yes, I am helping. And she was like, oh, okay. Like, she was real easy to get around and shit, you know what I mean? But it's just more of like, that's the thing and shit like that, But yeah, but it just, I can't do that again though, and shit like that, you know what I mean? Like, that was Crawford versus Canelo. Like literally, like, I had a reason to doing that, and shit like that, you know what I mean? I just can't just continuously do that, and shit like that, you know what I mean? Well, hold up, guys, I need to get a charger. But, yeah, man, I just had to grab my charger, you feel me? But I'm just saying, like, but, like, that's the thing and shit, but, for real, though, bro, like, with Crawford and shit, like, I'm just saying, bro, like, I'm a fan of Canelo, bro. Like, well, I'm not gonna say, like, like, if I could get the good Latinas, bro, yeah, I will say I'm a Canelo fan, and shit like that, you know what I mean? But overall, I respect the living shit out of Canelo and what he does for his community, his personality, how good of a fighter he is. He's all around just a good dude, man. And I respect Canelo a lot, dude. Like, it just, like, I respect I respect Canelo, dude. Like, literally, like, if you watching this, I respect you, bro. I respect what you do for your community. I respect what you do for just everything, dude. Like, you fight for your community. Like, and I respect you, bro. Like, I respect you. Like, and I know you know some English. So, I mean, like, don't take it personally, Canelo. But I'm just saying, like, genuinely, and I respect you a lot, man. And stuff like that. I really, really do. So, I'm just saying, man, a loss is a loss. But it is what it is. He lost to 3 great fighters. Floyd Mayweather, Dimitri Bivol, Terence Bud Crawford. He lost to 3 amazing fighters, dude. That nobody can beat. Bro. Like, shit, I don't even know if Benavidez can be able to beat Bivol, bro. Like, literally, bro. Because, right now, I think Bivol probably would edge out the fight against Benavidez. And shit like that. But Canelo still fought hard, and still was winning rounds against Dimitri Bivol. Against Floyd Mayweather, he still was, like Floyd, I mean, I feel like, that was, like, the easiest loss that somebody was able to beat Canelo. Because, I mean, Floyd, just, had way more experience than Canelo at the time. Like, Canelo, like, he still was able to, hit Floyd a little bit, but, not really like that, and shit like that, you know what I mean? I'm sorry, people. All the Mexican fans, bro, don't be saying nothing racist and shit like that, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just saying, dude, and stuff like that, all I'm saying and shit, and stuff like that, is my honest opinion on that fight. I, how the fuck did Canelo, that was not close. But, that was more of lopsided. Like, in my opinion, that was more lopsided than the Terence Crawford fight. And shit like that, in my opinion. And shit like that, because in the Terence Crawford fight, Canelo at least got 4 rounds in. Against Floyd, he barely got 2 rounds in. And shit like that, and they still had a majority decision. And shit like that, you know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. All love for Canelo, bro. But I'm just saying. But he still made it tough for Crawford. Like, Crawford really had to think. In my opinion, I thought Canelo won won the early rounds, and shit like that. You know what I mean? Like I thought he won most of the early rounds. Mid and later rounds, all I would say maybe like one round out of the later rounds, I would probably say Canelo won, and stuff like that to edge it to make it to like 4 rounds that he won, and shit like that. Because I wasn't really scoring like that, but I know damn well that Canelo was not winning, and shit like that. You know what I mean? Like I would have to go round by round to like if you're a boxing fanatic and shit like that, you know what I mean? Like, like for all my boxing fanatics out there, whoop whoop, and shit like that, gang gang, and shit like you don't need to always go round for shit, you know what I mean? Like, like you could just know who's winning, and shit like that, with just everything. Effective punches, jabs, just, who's looked more hungry, everything, you know what I mean? Like that's the thing and shit, so I'm just saying and shit, but I'm just saying, man, Canelo, you're a tough fighter. I wonder who's gonna be next for Canelo though. I really don't know, bro. Like I have no clue what's gonna be next for Canelo. Like literally. But the thing is though, if I look at it, like, was Canelo more bigger in this Crawford fight, or was he more smaller, or was he more like just the same size? Because when he fought William Skull, I feel like he was like more smaller than when he fought Crawford, and shit like that. You know what I mean? But yeah, but Crawford looks like a small ass 168 pounder. Like this nigga does not look 168, bro. Like I'm just saying, like either way, he still did his job and won. And shit like that, you know what I mean? But it's just more of like, he does not, like, he literally looks like 147, 154, bro. Like, he does not look 168, bro. Like, I was looking at, at Crawford, I'm like, damn, Crawford's small, bro. Like, it's just like, I could tell he bulked up. But it's just like, man, he was very nimble compared to Canelo, bro. And Canelo's usually like, is usually pretty small compared to like a lot of the other super middleweights, and shit like that. You know what I mean? And that's the thing and shit, So it's like Crawford looked real small, dude. Like imagine when he's fighting niggas like Jamal Charlo or some shit, Like literally, he's gonna look so tiny, bro. Like he's gonna look tiny as hell, bro. Like literally, it's like this dude is a super middleweight. He's a undisputed. What? That like this boy is robbing everybody's belts, bro. Like this boy Crawford is robbing everybody's belts, bro. On gang, bro. Like literally, like he's robbing everybody's belts, bro. Like literally, like I'm just saying, like, damn. And I'm just saying, bro. And I'm just saying, man. And with that fight, man, it's just like, I wouldn't mind seeing that fight again, bro. But I know there ain't no way. Honestly, I'm just gonna spill the tea right now, and shit like that. I guarantee the next fight for Terence Crawford is gonna be Jamal Charlo. Another he's gonna be another undefeated fighter. And shit like that. Even though, like, Canelo wasn't undefeated, but, I mean, he still can almost damn near consider that almost, like, for the skill set that he has in his resume, and shit like that. But yeah, but if he fought, but I'm just saying, I guarantee he's going to be fighting Jamal Charlo next. And Jamal Charlo, or not, and shit like, is Jamal Charlo a 168, or is he, I think he's 168. Let me go look. But yeah, either way that fight can happen, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm just saying, but, because, like, Jamal Charlo, he's like, what, like 6'1", and stuff like that, but he's big, you know what I mean? And then you got Terence Crawford, who's 5'8", and stuff like that, you know what I mean? And, he's kind of just trying to, like, still trying to bulk up, you know what I mean? So just, there's a big size difference between that, you know what I mean? But, but Crawford, I mean, he wants to go to 168, but I mean, I don't know if he's gonna, like, vacate those belts. or if he's gonna still continue at 168. I'm pretty like I don't really know, and shit like that. I have no clue, and shit like that. And that's the thing and shit. But I know that gaining weight for fights and shit is definitely not as hard as losing weight and shit. You know what I mean? So I feel like making weight for Crawford would be a lot more easier, and shit like that. You know what I mean? Got caught lacking a little bit, but yeah, man, what a fight, good fight. Respect to these warriors. What's next for Canelo? I have no clue what's next for Canelo. You know what I mean? But there's other fights out there. Let me go see though. But yeah, man. Hold up. But yeah, man, I just don't really know, and shit like that. But honestly, I got 2 fights for Canelo. You know what I mean? Hold up, guys. I got some in my. Hold up. But I got 2 fights for Canelo, you know what I mean? And, we got Hamza Shiraz, you know what I'm saying? We got Hamza Shiraz or a rematch with Terence Crawford. That's like the only 2 fights I feel like that I can just see, really. Just Canelo just would walk through anybody. It's just like Canelo has already proved what he has done, what he's able to do. I don't know, dropping weight, you know what I mean? Like, dropping weight, go to 160, and stuff like that. Conquer that division. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying, but dropping weight isn't the easiest, you know what I mean? I don't know if Canelo is going to be wanting to drop weight, and shit like that, you know what I mean? But I'm just saying it's a consideration, to drop weight, and shit like that, and go to 160, and stuff like that, and stuff like that. But out of all of those, though, honestly, I feel like what would kind of like save his career and shit like that, is if he rematched Terence Crawford or Hamza Shiraz, and stuff like that, bring it back on the map and then rematch Terence Crawford, and stuff like either way how it is, I mean. But I just feel like, like the only person that's there that's really kind of that could potentially give Canelo a good fight is Hamza Shiraz. But Canelo would walk through Hamza Shiraz though. It'll be a tough fight, but he would walk through Hamza Shiraz, and shit like that. You know what I mean? And that's the thing and shit, So yeah, man, and shit, But I'm just saying, man, and that's what I think, But for Terence Crawford, I think that he should either rematch Canelo or he should fight Jermall Charlo, and shit like that, you know what I mean? And that's the thing and shit, because I believe Jermall Charlo, because he's at 168. Either way, I know that he's naturally bigger than Crawford, and shit like that, you know what I mean? So that's the thing and shit, So that would bring a really good fight, between Crawford and Charlo, and stuff like that, you know what I mean? And honestly, like coming down to that, I would rather see Crawford fight Charlo, rather than the rematch with Canelo. So I would probably want to see Canelo go against probably like Hamza Shiraz, and stuff like that, you know what I mean? Or just dropping weight, see how 160 is, and shit like that. And when there's an opportunity at 168, then he could take that, you know what I mean? And that's the thing and shit, So yeah, man, and stuff like that, But I'm gonna recap this and shit like that because I gotta hurry the fuck up because my shift is gonna start in an hour. So I gotta, get ready for for work, you feel me? And yeah, and stuff like that, Gotta get prepared, and yeah, and stuff like that, skills pay the bills, you feel me? And shit like that, like my analyzing, my cooking at the fair, and shit like that, you know what I mean? Skills pay the bills, you feel me? And that's the thing and shit, and yeah, man, so but yeah, man, but I do hope you guys enjoyed this video, all the Canelo fans, all respect to y'all. It ain't over. You know, honestly, like, you know, boxing wouldn't boxing wouldn't be the same without these kind of fan bases. You feel me? You know, boxing wouldn't be the same without these fan bases, and that's what I love about boxing. You know what I mean? Because it's all love. You know what I mean? It's all love. You feel me? It's all love. You know, but that's what it's about. You know what I mean? It's about just coming together. We all have our own opinions. You feel me? And and that's the thing. You know, and shit like that. You know, we all have our own opinions. And that's the thing. You know, and stuff like that, you know. And yeah. But then I'll also add a little bit more. That Brandon Adams dude must be no fucking joke, bro. Because the reason why is because I remember watching that fight, the first fight between Brandon Adams and Sergey Boachuk, like the first time when they fought each other. I remember that first time when they fought each other, bro. Like that was like, and I remember because that was like when boxing was on on NBC, you know, and stuff like that. When like the NBC times of boxing, you know, but that was towards like the end of that time, you know, and shit. Because that was more like kind of like an early 2000s thing. Was NBC on boxing, you know, and shit like that. You know what I mean? But yeah, you know, and shit like that, you know, but what was I saying and stuff like that, you know? Oh yeah, but yeah, that's where the fight was between Brandon Adams and Sergey Boachuk was on NBC, you know, and stuff like that. It was on NBC. They don't have fights on NBC no more, you know, and stuff like that, you know. But during that time, it was on NBC, you know, and stuff like that. And it was a good fight, you know, and stuff like that, you know. Boachuk was winning a lot of the early rounds and some of the mid rounds. But then towards the later rounds, just Brandon Adams started putting the beat down on Sergey. And then he ended up stopping Sergey Boachuk, you know, and stuff like that. You know, I remember that fight like yesterday, bro. You know, and shit like that, you know. I was like, maybe like 14 years, because I'm 19 now, you know, but I was like probably like 14 at the time, you know, and shit like that, you know. So that's the thing and shit, you know. So like, I remember that shit, you know, like that was, yeah, man, like that, like memories, man, memories, bro, nostalgic memories, bro. Like literally, like, you know, and then they got her, and I didn't know they had bad beef still. I didn't know that Boachuk still wanted that vengeance in that fight. And Boachuk put up a really, like, I thought Boachuk beat Virgil Ortiz, bro. Bro, in my opinion, I thought that he beat Virgil Ortiz, bro. Like, I'm not gonna lie, bro. Like, I thought he beat Virgil Ortiz. But, you feel me? We're gonna save that for the next video, though. But thank y'all for watching this video. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. I'm Preston. Peace out, man.